blueprint?
Personally, I think the IEBC, to the extent that they say that this was our show, we ought to have been prepared, they are very right. The issue of blueprints is that political parties are largely operated on the agreement of the members, how they want to conduct themselves. The benchmarks are set under the Political Parties Act. Beside providing that registers to complement the parties' registers, I don't think IEBC or the Register of Political Parties has to be blamed for not having done ABCD or having done it differently.
If I narrow it down, there's a cutoff point for tonight. Is there not?
There is.
There's a cutoff point. After midnight of tonight, anything that is done beyond that
is illegal.
Yes, that is illegal. And here,
so whose law is this?
Hold on, I want to get it right, and maybe Professor would correct me.
Yeah.
The IEBC in that regard especially has been sending conflicting and confusing signals.
Which is the part that you find confusing?
Very confusing in the sense that we knew that 18th was the deadline, and that is the law. And that is what they expressed to us a few days ago. Come yesterday, we were hearing statements from IEBC extending it to 21st. A few minutes before coming here, I get communication that tonight is the difference. My understanding is that when a party makes you believe on a position or makes a representation that you rely on, and especially if it is the custodian of the regulations, then they cannot turn back and say, we were wrong.
Owing to the period you needed and which you've completely squeezed, period for redress, period for addressing anomalies, why were you not the ones twisting the IEBC in that score then? Because you then said, we will count 7 days.
Remember I told you at the beginning.
But is that the position?
That's the position. But remember I told you at the beginning that the TNA as a party, we had no numbers to legislate in Parliament. This thing was being thrashed onto us by the legislators who were probably protecting their own interests.
But tell me, how fair is that? When you knew you'd made the statement you would count 7 days after you'd locked your polls, if you wanted to put anything in writing for redress, if you wanted anything looked at, when you do that to IEBC, what options are you giving them?
As a party, we are prepared. We are not complaining about that. We have compiled our list. As results come, believe you me, by midnight, we will beat the deadline. And the only part that suffers, and also our candidates may suffer, is the appeals system or the what do you call it? The dispute resolution mechanisms.
Exactly.
That suffers. And we, as a party that believes in democratic rights of our members, feel hurt that those who may have suffered unjustly may not have proper time to
I like the way you're saying, you know, you're making it all sound so nice because you feel bad about the guys who will make it. The general belief of Kenyans when it comes to these nominations is Onyango knows who is going to get this ticket.
Louis, give us credit
give
us credit as TNA that for once we have shown the Kenyans the benchmark of how to conduct political party primaries.
This is what I'll do. I'll leave it to the viewers. I'll leave it to the audiences. You have our numbers. You have our context. You communicate and tell us if TNA has actually set the example. I wish your colleagues were here. In this essence, you know, we cannot do what they call shared responsibility. But there's still something you can tell us about. We talked about equipment. The country has witnessed scenes where people have contested the equipment available, the kind of material available. How badly and how far off did you go off the mark? Did you end up using buckets also? Did you end up using exercise books at one point?
Louis, let us say this, that for once a political party did prepare proper and acceptable ballot papers to be used in choosing candidates. We did go out of our way to get transparent ballot boxes. They may not have been of the quality and the standard presented by IEBC, but they were transparent and they did perform, and we did not use buckets. We had seals, so candidates themselves could even seal the ballot boxes. For once, a political party during its primaries gave its members.
I can't believe I'm letting you get away with it. This is just not right. But it's not your fault. I mean, viewers, it's not his fault. The other parties were supposed to be here. And if they feel bad that TNA has got it together, they only have themselves to blame. However, I still want to hear about confidence building. I still want to hear about the transparency of the process? What are we lacking in terms of confidence building beyond the technicality, which obviously Olo has covered so well, and he's alone and he can say that. But just for the voter, from what you've observed, tell me about voter confidence.
Yes, moving forward, I think that is what all of us as Kenyans have a responsibility to invest in, and it's going to be a very heavy investment, not financial investment, but an investment that goes to the culture and political attitude. This is what it is all about. I think we've seen an element of disconnect between the political party as an institution and the members. We want to see moving forward, because we are going to begin campaigns in earnest now. And campaigns is about canvassing for votes and mobilizing citizens to vote for you. There has to be that connection.
I can follow.
I can walk. No. When the highlights are running, I can actually walk there.
An element of which has been lost during the 2 days. That is how we are going to also galvanize confidence around the electoral process, because political parties are a critical actor in this. And one of the things that we know very well is they can help make this process work or help destroy it. You destroy it by putting up sham processes or by making sure that you rise up to the occasion. To some extent, what Onyango says, if that is indeed what they did, then kudos to them, because that reflects the level of seriousness with which they approach this. But it's not just about that. It's also about realizing that democracy is not cheap. And political parties are able to, resource for money, for funds. The nomination fees that they get from the aspirants is so much money that can enable them do a decent exercise.
Is there an audit on that?
Oh yes, remember now.
How do we know? How do we know that you used this money, you used it well, and who's supposed to give the final satisfaction report?
Remember now, all the funds that a political party receives are subject to the Auditor General.
Yes.
So you cannot just use it the way you want. And that is why now, under the Political Parties Act, the Secretary General becomes the accounting officer.
That will be you now.
That is me.
Yes.
So any misuse, you can trust that very soon you may see me in handcuffs.
So if I see buckets, if I see exercise books...
Ask me where the money went. Because in what surprised me, Louis, these things are not as expensive as we were made to believe.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Now, just to see how far other areas have gone. You know very well, in Choice 2013, we've got everybody out there. And right now, I want to go to John and Sophia in Kisumu. Let us find out the latest from this hotspot.
Many thanks, Louis. Now, it was meant to be a one-day affair, but even the second day could not resolve the nomination confusion that has plunged the parties into a state of anxiety.
Who, for instance, won the ODM nomination for the governor in Siaya? Was it Obudu Ogenga or William Odwal? This is Choice 2013.
Now, we shall shortly be bringing you exclusive footage of some of that confusion, including thousands of ballot papers that had arrived here just a few hours ago and now may not be used at all. Good evening. I'm John Allenham.
And good evening, I'm Sophia Wanuna. Thank you for staying with the most authoritative coverage of this historical political event. We now take you to Nyeri County, where Rita Tanina and Eric Njoka have details of TNA nomination that rocked that place today.
Well, thank you very much, Sophia and John Alanamu. Here in Nyeri, we shall be monitoring for you developments around the Mount Kenya region, where the nomination exercise got off to a slow start amid delays, confusion, and missing names.
Well, from this county, we'll also be telling you about the titanic battle of Othaya constituency and what happened earlier today. But for now, I'll take you to Bonnie Tunya, who is in our news center in Nairobi. Bonnie, over to you.
Okay, thank Rita and Eric in Nyeri. Here we shall be taking a quick look at some of the critical contests we are expecting in March 4th as a result of today's nomination. For instance, this is what you can expect in Bungoma, where some political giants will be facing off. We're talking about Musikari Kombo taking on Moses Wetangula. For that and more will be coming on later. But Linda, for the day's highlights.
Indeed, and it is all about the state of confusion that has dogged the second day of nominations. We shall be putting a spotlight on the exercise and asking the question, have the parties created a legal crisis by leaving the exercise to the 11th hour? Choice 2013 begins now. Chaos in Nyanza's ODM primaries face credibility test. Big names fall in chaotic party nominations. Confusion mars second day of TNA URP primaries.
If they were to ask for our advice on how to manage the elections, we'll have given them technical advice.
And IEBC denies responsibility in nominations debacle. Choice 2013 begins now. Day 2 of the political party primaries closes with tallying underway for Nairobi County, both for the National Alliance, that is TNA, and ODM party. The ODM party nominations officials have had to change tallying venues 3 times to avoid disruption by disgruntled aspirants. Well, in areas of Kisumu, Kindu Bay and Rongo, chaos and fallouts in ODM nominations over delays, missing ballot papers and controversial results. The 2 days of nominations bedeviled by confusion with little details on timelines for voting and tallying venues or even lists of aspirants. And as the messy primaries draw to a close, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, says the political parties should blame themselves for the chaos and confusion. And 2 races to watch in the dying minutes of the TNA primaries. Mary Wambo is seeking the TNA ticket for Othaya against Gishuki Mugambi, who is preferred by President Kibaki's son, that is Jimmy, and the titanic battle between Rhodes Assistant Minister Lee Kinyanjui and former AP Commandant Kinuthi Ambugwa for the TNA Nakuru Governor's ticket. This is KTN's comprehensive coverage of the nominations Choice 2013. All right, we now take you over to Kisumu, where John Alanamu and Sophia Wanuna are standing by.
Many thanks, Linda. Now, aspirants alongside their supporters in Kisumu, Seme, Nyakach, Muhoroni and Nyando constituencies may have less than 4 hours before they're thrown into a quagmire if voting there doesn't start and conclude, vote counting and tallying be undertaken, and nominees elected by midnight tonight. If the IEBC deadline given for the handing in of party nominee list is to be respected.
Indeed, and voting materials arrived at the Kisumu International Airport at 5 p.m. today. With only a few hours to the midnight deadline for the exercise, the material was transferred to the Kisumu District Police Headquarters, where the Nyanza Police boss Joseph Oletito met aspirants in his office.
In this exclusive footage, various parties present tried to find the best way to resolve the crisis with time against them. And by the time we went to air, they were nowhere near resolving how to do this.
But to me, as far as I'm concerned, it's totally beyond me. What I just want, let me finish. What I just want us to appreciate is the fact that we are supposed to vote. Now, the question that I know will arise, how are we going to vote? One, he has also confirmed it to me that you people have not inspected the documents that have just been received. His proposal to me is if we can reduce our numbers, because we cannot all inspect that document. We shall inspect until midnight. If we can reduce and pick, if possible, 2 I do not know, first of all, which constituencies are here. Seme, yes. Muhoroni, yes. Nyando, yes. And Kisumu West. Yes. If we could pick amongst ourselves, at most 3 people, that becomes about 12 members of yourselves. And then we go, I give you an opportunity to peruse the document. Once you see that your documents are clear, assumingly maybe for Seme or Muhoroni, theirs are in order, we release the documents, then you go and start the elections. For those that will not maybe be meeting the standards, then maybe Awiti will need to consult. What is he going to do? Because honestly, we are actually running short of time.
Problem, my friend. No, there is big problem. We have invested at midnight. We have not passed midnight. So please, let's verify.
Midnight is Bet's issue. That is Bet's problem. Let us not get into his problem.
So do you want it clarified?
Let ODM do whatever it wants to do. They have messed us up. Yeah. We cannot squeeze us as if we are this mistake.
Excuse me.
That is Bet's problem.
Thank you very much. Hold on. Thank you very much.
That's a problem because of Bet.
Sir, yes. My name is Dr. Israel Kodiaga.
Just a minute, please. A minute.
Sir, my name is Dr. Israel Kodiaga, yes. Parliamentary aspirant for Kisumu West. We are grateful that you have given us the audience to be able to talk to you and tell you our issues and also to listen to other matters arising. The best that your office can do is to ensure the safety and security of the voting materials. Anything to do with verification and authentication of whether these things are valid or not is the docket of the coordinator, the CRO, and these returning officers. Then they mobilize their POs on the ground and clerks and inform everybody. Then elections are done there. But to ask me, a candidate who is standing against an opponent, to verify whether the candidate's name is in the ballot or not, it's not my business, and I'm an interested party here. So even you will be overstretching your mandate if you are involving in the messes of our party. The best that you can do is receive these things, store them, and assure us that they will be safe until we come to pick them. If we choose to pick them at 7 o'clock, when we now have the CRO and all the other people, then we come at 7 and pick them. And we go and do. And if we will have not gotten these people by 7 and we choose to come at midnight or at 1 a.m., that is no longer your issue. If Bet made a press statement on the TV, it has nothing to do with you. Your job is to receive what you have been given and keep. How are you intervening on a matter that has not concerned you?
You are actually relieving the burden from me.
Yes, it wasn't yours.
Now, can we? Why are we then still raising hands? See, allow me put the documents in the hammer. Let's walk out. Let's walk out. Let's walk out.
And still on that story, according to ODM's Kisumu Elections Coordinator, Colonel Owiti, the county returning officer, Albert Mwanga, is unreachable and 3 returning officers have resigned. So as some of the aspirants and supporters maintained they would conduct the party nominations tonight, not only will they be doing this against the clock, they also may not have officials to lead the process, with the exception of Muhoroni, whose returning officer is still on duty. Others still maintain that the dilemma they are in was caused solely by the National Elections Board and will therefore conduct nominations at their own pace.
Now, in Homa Bay, results of the vote in some counties was met with violent dissent, especially in Karachuonyo constituency, where immediate former MP James Rege's nomination was confirmed over his challengers, Adipo Okwome. The acrimony in various parts of the county saw protesters challenge the fairness of the polls in Nyanza, claiming that if the vote was not respected, they would buck from ODM. Question is, will the controversies of local politics percolate to the national level and hurt Prime Minister Raila Odinga's presidential chances? Fred Omula spent the day traversing Homa Bay County.
There was no respite for ODM in its stronghold of South Nyanza, as what was expected to be a straightforward primary turned awry with the handing of the party ticket to Rege. As tensions built up in the rest of the county, the trading center of Kindu Bay exploded.
Kwa hivyo wameamua na wamesema kama hakuna adipo, no peace and no Raila.
In a matter of minutes, the highway became impassable as roadblocks popped up all over.
The tensions have boiled over and the fires have now been lit. The question is, will these fires burn down the ODM house?
Beneath the din was a cry for the recognition of Adipo Okwome as the bona fide candidate, since he was leading in most polling centers by today morning before the announcement. The rest of Homa Bay did not fare any better, with Mita constituency unable to conduct a rerun as angry residents protested against delays by tearing up ballot papers and as a result preventing the exercise today.
Hatutaki Onyango Nyang'oru kwa Wangcheng Ward. Tunataka haraka. Kama sio haraka, hatupigi kura kwa Raila. Tunaenda TNA ama Jubilee.
The Rangwe process was relatively event-free yesterday, with the announcement of newcomer Everest Okambo as winner, but as KTN went on air, a majority of his rivals were planning to challenge the result. Lastly, a Mbita councillor by the name of Oyuka Ongonga, allied to a senior minister in the region, was arrested yesterday with marked ballot papers and booked at Mbita police station under OB number 27.
Karachuonyo constituency usually escapes the chaos common in many other areas around here during the party primary season. It now faces a future as a ripe battleground for other political parties from across the country if residents here sustain their rage. From Homa Bay County, I am Fredo Mulo.
To Siaya now, where the outcome of the gubernatorial race is still in doubt, with 3 different versions of the events from 3 interested parties.
Newcomer William Oduol claimed victory over Deputy Finance Minister Oburu Oginga by over 30,000 votes, while returning officer Ketamora announced that Oburu had beaten Oduol by a similar margin. Now in Nairobi, National Elections Board Chairman Franklin Bett said that the gubernatorial nomination vote would have to be cast by the public afresh. So which way, Siaya? Now, we have 2 sound bites from earlier on today, one from William Oduol and one from Oburu Oginga on that controversy. Take a listen.
The provisional results, as it were, are actually not provisional results, because those are authenticated results, confirmed by presiding officer.
I don't know whether a candidate is allowed to announce that he has won without the announcement coming from the returning officers, because it is the returning officer who knows who has won. Voting has taken place, but of course with a lot of irregularities. So there are complaints which, according to the party rules, must be sorted out as soon as possible. There is an appeal panel which is going to sort out all those things.
All right, and now let's also take a listen at the returning officer's comment. That's Ketamora, Siaya County.
From Bondo, William Oduol had 7,000 votes. On the other hand, Dr. Oburu had 15,200 votes. From Ugenya constituency, William Oduol had 16,980 votes, while Dr. Oburu had 18,950 votes. The total votes of William Oduol is 35,198 votes. Dr. Oburu had a total vote of 62,232 votes. This makes the governor of Siaya to be Honorable Dr. Oburu Odinga.
Now that controversy here in Siaya County that was covered by Aaron Ochieng earlier on hasn't ended yet, and we'll take you back to Nairobi, where the man in the hot seat, Franklin Bett, the National Elections the chairman rather of the National Elections Board, is on the hot seat with Linda Ogutu in Nairobi. Linda.
Indeed, John Alanamu, Sophia Wanuna in Kisumu, many thanks. Let's now bring in ODM's Franklin Bett. Thank you so much for speaking to KTN Prime this evening, sir. We have seen a lot of questions, or rather doubts, on the results of the gubernatorial battle in Siaya. Could you give us an indication of what's happening right now?
Thank you very much. As we indicated, we will want at every moment to make it to be free and fair and transparent. And since the results were announced by the returning officer, I have asked them to tell me how they came by those results. They have not been able to give me the relevant documents which they were required to give me so that I may find myself on the results. And a lot of issues have been raised in the country on that result. I am for holding that result until I have, in the next 24 hours, an investigation into the matter. I have already contacted the National Executive Council to put in place the appeals board to listen to the two contestants in Siaya County for governor. That is Dr. Oburu and Mr. Odwol. I am therefore requesting the two contestants to come with the evidence they have on the results that on the results of the election, so that I may be able to adjudicate, because it is now a dispute on the part of ODM.
Franklin, so what you're trying to tell Kenyans is, as we speak, we do not have a clear winner in Siaya.
Yes, I'm saying until we satisfy ourselves on those results. Because, for example, there are two constituencies which results may not have already been added to the figures which we are being given.
All right, there was a little bit of confusion as well, which I'd like you to clear for us, because what has been going around that actually Anyang' Nyong'o spoke early in the morning, and he was very categorical. He said that repeat primaries will be held tomorrow, and as we speak, IEBC has been very clear, saying that there will be no primaries tomorrow. Give us a final word on this.
If you saw my statement a few minutes ago, I indicated that indeed we want to comply with the instructions of IEBC, and I'm endeavoring to comply with those instructions. So the IEBC has got a period from now to 21st for dispute resolution. There is a dispute on Siaya issue. We want to settle it amicably between the two candidates.
We have witnessed a little bit of chaos, Mr. Bett, in certain areas, of course, Kisumu, Homa Bay, Mviwa. Does that worry you as a member of ODM?
Yes, it worries me because I'm a peace-loving Kenyan. That's why several times I've been on air appealing for calm, asking members of the public to be able to respect each other, asking aspirants to be sober, to be able to be calm. I have done that so many times because it concerns me when there are chaos.
But you realize one of the major things that's actually causing this is a lot of aspirants actually saying there is no democracy in ODM. That is why we are having all this chaos.
There is democracy in ODM. What I want the aspirants is for them to allow the elections officials to conduct the exercise without interference.
All right, Franklin Bett speaking to KTN. Many thanks for speaking to us on KTN Prime. Of course, saying that there is no clear winner yet, actually in Siaya. So that is a story we are following for you. And of course, a lot of anger at the primaries, especially in the Nyanza region. Let me take you back to John Alanamu and Sophia Wanuna, who witnessed some of the chaos, and they have more stories from that region. Alanamu, Sophia.
All right, many thanks.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Linda Ogutu. And back here in Kisumu, there was yet more acrimony, this time from a group of gubernatorial aspirants aimed at ODM Secretary General and Senatorship candidate Professor Anyang' Nyong'o.
A trio who included Ruth Odinga, Owino Omolo, and Atieno Otieno all claimed that Nyong'o's position as both party secretary general and aspirant compromises the integrity of the election, which is already facing other logistical challenges, as you heard.
I would like, first of all, to thank our people of Kisumu for having remained patient and calm during these trying times. But I want to go ahead and appeal to Anyang' Nyong'o in particular to behave. Anyang' Nyong'o must behave. If he wants to participate in this election as an aspirant, let him stop interfering with the process. If he wants to manage the process, then he should not be an aspirant. The same thing should go to Jack Ranguma. I don't fear any of them. I don't fear Jack Ranguma. I don't fear Anyang' Nyong'o. Anyang' Nyong'o should behave. He should grow up. People have been accusing him of messing the ODM. The ministry is being accused of messing the ministry. Now I feel very embarrassed to sit here accusing Anyang' Nyong'o of mismanaging the elections, because how do you explain a whole professor, a whole minister, a whole secretary general having breakfast with the returning officer? It is like you are sitting for an examination and you go to the airport to receive exam papers. Anyang' Nyong'o has been an examiner. He is a professor of very well-known standards. And therefore, we just want Anyang' Nyong'o to grow up and don't return us to those dark old days. I want to assure people of Kisumu, we are going to have a free and fair election, come what may. And we shall not accept anybody imposing a leader on us.
That's last night, of which he accepted that the elections were flawed and that he would ask the head office for a repeat elections today morning, and that the ballot papers that were coming today morning would be kept, and that the repeat would be done on the 19th, which is tomorrow, Saturday, and we, all aspirants who are there, agreed to that point. However, with me, I stated clearly that the returning officer should also be changed. The people who are sitting in the office of ODM here should all be not part of and parcel of the process. If we want to be transparent and have a fair whatever, we must have a whole system brought in that is going to show the transparency.
Now, those aspirants may have the problems with Party Secretary General Anyang' Nyong'o, who has, by the way, denied the claims, but they now have bigger fish to fry, and with about 2 hours and 30 minutes left before that technical knockout at midnight, they're still trying to crack their heads. The latest we've heard that they're at the Royal City Hotel here in Kisumu trying to decide a way forward, Sophia.
Indeed, and with that, we wrap up our coverage for tonight from Kisumu County. We hand you back to Bonnie Tunya, but of course, our eyes and ears remain on the ground.
Indeed, many thanks, Sophia. And John Alanamu in the Nyanza town of Kisumu. Now, news just in is that Franklin Bett, who is the chairman of board of elections at both ODM and CORD, has suspended the primaries at Siaya pending probing. He has also invited both Dr. Oburu Odinga and Oduol, the contender, to come and look at the issue. So as it is now, we don't have a clear winner as regards to the Siaya gubernatorial seat. Now, moving on now, we have been looking at critical contests that we expect to see, looking at the kind of results that we have been having. Now, in Bungoma County, for example, the race between the county senator will be fought between the country's political heavyweights. We're talking about Newford Kenya's Musikari Kombo, who will be battling it out, of course, with Muhisa Kitui, and Ford Kenya's Moses Wetangula. Also, one-time political heavyweight in the Western region, Lawrence Sifuna, is expected to be part of that particular race for the Senate seat in Bungoma. Now, neighboring in Busia County, battle for the Senate seat is between Ford Kenya's Chris Okemo and Amos Wako. Now, Amos Wako, one time, for a long time, serving as the AG, and Chris Okemo, one time very successful finance minister. They will be battling it out for the Busia County. Let's go back to Turkana County, where former Trade Minister John Munyes will face off with Ekwe Ethuro for the Senate seat in that particular country. Of course, Turkana has come on the spotlight this time round with the discovery of oil and also with the insecurity in that part of the country. Let's go down to Eastern, where Charity Ngilu of NAC will battle it out with David Musila of Wiper, which is in CORD, for the county senate in that part of the country. Now, still other interesting battles, yet another titanic battle we're expecting it will be in the coastal town of Mombasa, where Wiper's Hassan Omar and RPC's Najib Balala and Ramadan Kajembe of ODM will be facing off for the country's Senate seat in that particular country. Of course, hotly contested, as we may have learned by now. Omar Hassan defected from ODM to Wiper effectively, but still under the Code Alliance, of course, Najib Balala with RPC, which is affiliated to William Ruto's Jubilee coalition. Also, Ramadan Kajembe will be trying to battle out for that particular contest. And of course, these are just a few of the races that we've identified that will be giving a titanic battle, but also we'll be keeping an eye for you as and when these results continue to trickle in. Now, I'll throw you over to our analysis studio where Louis Otieno is standing by with a team of analysts to just look at what we know so far as regards to the situation on the ground. Over to you, Louis.
Long because the action is out there. I have a group whose chief role is basically observatory, but I want to make quick comments on what we've just observed, specifically in the areas where there's been a lot of contention. I'll start with you, Prof, very quickly.
Yes, I think what we've observed things that raise a lot of concern as we move forward as Kenyans. The bottom line is that processes which do not meet standards, which are set, the parameters laid down, are processes that are going to be very costly for us as a country. And those costs, are things that we were able to see in the last elections. We don't want, moving forward from these nominations, see a situation that, builds more conflict and disputes. And therefore, what we have seen now requires that political parties put their houses in order very quickly to deal with the issues that are emerging out of this, the disputes, the conflicts, so that there is a sense of resolution that then, is able to nurture an environment of peace and order. Okay. And that is what we need as we move towards the next elections. Without that, we are merely building up tension, we are merely building up conflict that will have a spillover effect on the actual elections on 4th March. But you'll continue
educating, you won't give up.
Well, of course, education has value, and that we must always do.
Anne, very quickly?
For us, we are very clear that the elections shall be on the 4th of March. It is not negotiable, and the political parties, all of them inclusive, must get their act together, and they must be able to see, we are now able to see from what we're seeing, the kind of conflicts that have arisen in various areas. It is a concern to everybody. It is clear that they are not able to control their people at all, especially in Nyanza. It is evident. And for me, that is a worrying situation. It is a worrying situation because the same can also come to Nairobi in its own way. And therefore, we are putting them on notice that they must get their act together. They must also ensure that they do handle their issues and all disputes are solved, because we are not negotiating on the date of 4th of March changing at all.
Right. Before you start smirking and gloating, Onyango, I know you're going to tell me, but we got it together. What we've seen, especially in Nyanza, of course, is because in a stronghold like that, that is the election. Somebody getting a ticket there is basically home and dry. Yes. And we're coming up with your strong areas, which will be in Nyeri going forward. But so far, I'll just let you comment on what you've seen.
Thank you so much, Louis. As a Christian, I draw a lot of inspiration from the Bible. And the Bible tells us that no spring can bring forth both hot and cold, and that you shall know them by their fruits.
Preach on, man.
You have seen what has happened. You have seen which of the parties stand for democracy, transparency, and credible elections. It is for Kenyans now to proceed and make a choice of what kind of government they want. The peaceful government founded out of credible elections, made up of men and women committed to the development of our country, or a violent, chaotic system presided over by parties that do not respect the rule of law. For us, as TNA,
selling party,
we stand for that.
But before you close on party, just one word for the voter. There's a sense of responsibility I don't want to miss here. We've talked so much about the parties. Prof, just one word to the voter. This is about the voter. Yes. Do you have something to tell them?
Absolutely. Elections is not about political parties. Elections is about citizens. This is a process for the citizens, and this is a process for the voters. Okay. And therefore, responsibility is on all of us as citizens, as officials of political parties, as managers of the process, we must all rise to the occasion and take our civic responsibility seriously, take our political rights seriously. But above all, remember that we can only be able to exercise our political rights and take responsibility in a positive, constructive manner if we are able to do our things in an orderly, peaceful manner.
Okay, Prof. One word and to the voter, that responsibility can't be turned over to Onyango and his teammates.
And to all Kenyans, we all have a role to play. The peace that will come to this country on that 4th of March will be entirely in the hands of Kenyans. We must have a peaceful election. We must dictate that that is what we want and should not be swayed in any which direction for an alternative. We shall not accept that. So the voter must remain calm, the voter must vote wisely, and the voter must avoid to be influenced by factors, because already they each know right now, as we go towards the election, people know who they are voting for.
Right.
They do know.
Okay, since you took the time to come and be with me, I'll allow you a last word.
Thank you so much. Finally, what we would say, actually, as my colleagues have said, it is the right of citizens to demand that elections be conducted freely, fairly, and that they should be credible. Let the citizens not just scramble for the sake of dominance of a party in a particular area. The only way to make sure that their voice is heard is to punish those who have tried to impose leaders on them by voting parties that have conducted credible primaries.
Right. Well, as I said, we're in studio here. Our role has been in this particular discussion very observatory, and we're just making commentary on what has come in. We'd like to take you back out there where the action is, and before we even say so much more about it, your role has been given back to you as a citizen. You know what your responsibility is. And even though we understand what the hotspots are hot for, you still have a duty to maintain the peace. So we'll take you back to where the action is. We're going to follow Asha Mwilu, who's been in Ukambani. She's specifically in Makueni. And let us see what the numbers have been there. Let us see what the response has been there. And if better lessons are there for democracy. Is Asha with us?
Thank you, Louis, and a very good evening to you. We're coming to you live from Makueni County, where we had been pitching camp for the better part of the day, not taking note of the nomination process that kicked off today morning concerning the Wiper Party. And we are currently at Onoa Primary School, which for the better part of today was a polling station, and now it's turned to the tallying headquarters for the entire county. So what's happening right now is that polling stations from the different constituencies in Makueni County are sending in their official tallies to this specific headquarters for the officials here to have the final tally. We know that the battle to watch out for, the contest to watch out for, is between Mutula Kilonzo, Education Minister, and Gideon Dambuki, who is the Assistant Minister for Agriculture. And one of these will get the party ticket to vie for the senatorial position in Makueni County, and one of them probably will be kicked out of elective politics after tonight. Generally, in this area, there has been no incidents of chaos or tension concerning the party primaries. What we know is that the issues have been to do with logistical issues, but today the police reported the first incident of probably suspects trying to rig the nomination. We know that 5 suspects were arrested and taken to the Water police station, where they were found with some polling material, papers which had already been marked against some aspirants' names way before the primaries began today morning. But other than that, security has been tight in a better part of the county, and there has been no incidents reported. Although some polling stations, especially in Booni and right here in Water Town, received insufficient polling material. So what happened is that the presiding officers had to tear some pages from exercise books, I beg your pardon, just to make sure that the voters who had camped in this polling station got a chance to nominate their preferred aspirants. Well, you can hear there's a lot of noise around me. This is because the polling clerks representing the different aspirants are here, making sure that the tallying process is transparent and that the numbers from the different tallying centers in the constituencies are the numbers being received in this particular center. Of course, by the end of tonight, we should be knowing who has clenched the party ticket to run for the various elective positions, and we'll keep you up to date. I now hand you over to my colleague Rita Tinina, who is coming to you live from Nyeri County to give us an update from that side of the country. Rita.
Thank you very much, Asha, from Makueni. Indeed, we are coming to you live from Nyeri County. We are at the Green Hills Hotel.
Well, we'll start with Othaya constituency, where the voting process just ended a few minutes ago, but the counting is now underway.
Earlier in the day, the nomination exercise was halted briefly after one of the TNA aspirants, Gishu Mugambi, alleged a plot to weaken his bid to succeed President Mwai Kibaki in Othaya after two surprise candidates were introduced to the race.
Well, Mugambi claims that his main challenger is businesswoman Mary Wamboi. Our colleague Karen Derry traversed the constituency earlier today and filed the following report.
Confusion reigned in one of the polling stations in Othaya constituency when one of the TNA aspirants, Gishu Mugambi, upon arrival at the Geshishe polling station, claimed that the list of TNA aspirants had been doctored, as there were now 4 names of TNA aspirants as opposed to the 2 he thought were on the ballot, his and Mary Wamboi's. But 2 more had been added. Kamau Stephen Kenywa and Miti Julius Nderitu.
Amenanitoa, anaandika barua, nimetoka TNA. Drunkards.
TNA chairman Nyeri Peter Kanyora sought to explain the occurrence.
Siwezi ongea kuhusu hao majina kwa sababu hii majina imetoka katika headquarter. Kwa hivyo natujui kama ni watu walilipa au hawajalipa. Lakini niko na uhakika ni labda ni watu kwa sababu ilikuwa nalipiwa wapi? Au TNA headquarters. Kwa hivyo mimi najua ukiona listi inakuja kutoka headquarter ni kuonesha hawa watu wamelipa pesa zao kutoka huko.
Right now here at Geshishe polling station in Othaya constituency, as you can see, there are a lot of chaos, a lot of commotion, following what one aspirant, Gishu Mugambi, says seem to be underhand tactics and anomalies in the registration papers. So they hope that this will be sorted out sooner rather than later, so the voting can continue. At the Nyamari polling station still in Othaya, Mary Wamboi cast her vote mid-morning. There were no major incidents reported here at Nyamari polling station. Mary asked her supporters in Othaya to maintain peace regardless of the outcome.
I just want to ask Kenyans to ask for peace, and even here in Othaya.
And while the power for TNA supremacy in Othaya rages on, it is a contest between the two, and just who of the two will be favored by the people of Othaya now that President Mwai Kibaki has hung his boots as the legislator for Othaya, having served in the position for the last 38 years.
I'm very sorry for some people saying something that some people have got money. I am not carrying any money. I'm not giving anybody even a single cent. Even if you see me, my heart, I don't used to go with the heart because I don't have money to give people. You cannot buy all Othaya voters, and that's very bad. For somebody to spoil your name.
You ask people like Mheshimiwa Kabado, I was a school captain. So my leadership started when I was young. In 2000, I became the patron of this primary school. Then I've been I've been also the chairman of Shiga Boys Board, and nobody has pushed me in all those places.
The voting process here was not without hitches, missing names. Yet for some like Naomi Wanjiro and Peterson Gadingo, their registration details could be confirmed by way of a text message from IEBC, yet their names could not be traced at the register at Nyamari and a few other stations.
Register center ya Bugaini. Lakini kuja hapa wakati tuletwa pamoja kuja hapa hii center ya Nyamari jina yangu inakosa. Sijui kwa nini.
Tunachukua kadi Kitudu, mimi nakuja kuangalia jina yangu hapa Nyamari Kitudu. Ginakuja kuangalia jina yangu anakosa.
And in an unfortunate incident in Pap area of Othaya Township, a fire that razed down these houses destroyed property of unknown value, including registration slips for some of the would-be voters. All in all, whoever will take over the mantle for Othaya constituency will have his or her work cut out for them, as fitting in the president's shoes is no mean feat. Carol Derry for KTN in Othaya, Nyeri County.
In other parts of Nyeri, as well as neighboring counties such as Laikipia and Murang'a, the nomination exercise was marred by delays, confusion and missing names.
Well, despite these shortcomings, there were huge voter turnouts in many areas around this constituency. But although there were no major incidences reported.
I spent the better part of the day out and about in various polling centers, and this is what I found out. Long queues characterized the nomination exercise in Laikipia County. Voters turned up at various polling centers from early morning, but the start of the nomination exercise was delayed. At the Nanyuki Primary School, which had 3 voting streams, voters stood in the queue for hours. The start of voting was delayed due to an error on the ballot papers.
Nakuta ballot paper ina majina imekuwa rokete jina moja imeenda kama mara mbili.
Officials here agreed to proceed with voting, but with a word of caution to voters to vote once for the women representative aspirant who was appearing twice on the ballot paper. At the St. Moses Primary School near Nanyuki town, another problem. There were only 30 ballot papers for the governor, while the ballots for those seeking the Senate seat ran out by 11 a.m.
So people are being told to vote and then come back later to vote for the governor. We feel there is part of rigging. And if that is the case, I don't see how somebody can vote for the MP and the councillor and then come back again and vote for the governor.
Shida ile iko hapa ni shida ambaye ya makaratasi ambaye sasa tunaona inaenda kutolewa photocopy huko na ambaye hiyo makaratasi sisi hatuiamini.
At the Nanyuki Social Hall, voters were uneasy with the presence of individuals they termed as strangers at the polling station. 7 aspirants, including 2 former Laikipia West MPs, Gigi Kariuki and Chegembi Tiru, are seeking the TNA ticket for the Senate seat in Laikipia County, while 4 won TNA's endorsement for the governorship position. In Murang'a County, another case of missing names. Maragua MP Elias Mbao and an aspirant for the Murang'a governor's seat were missing from the register.
All people whose names start with P, whose name starts with M, E, W, even B, and a few others. So those people who are going to present themselves to polling stations whose names start with those letters are therefore going to have to either be missing or be advised to be written on a separate exercise book like has happened in my case.
In Daragwa, voters turned protesters. They were angered by the discovery of a lorry ferrying ballot papers without a security detail.
Hakuna uchaguzi itafanyika hapa Daragwa. Hiyo tumekata. Hii lori iko na shida, kuna masanduku iko hapa. Hii lori kabla ende kwa pande wale wengine ilikuwa hapa Southern Force, hapa Nyahururu. Na ilikuwa imevishwa na haikuwa na security. Kutoka hapo ikaenda pande ya Shauri. Ilikuwa ikavishwa pande hiyo. Kwani ilikuwa ikihofia nini?
In Kieni constituency of Nyeri County, dozens of voters braved the sun as they waited for a chance to nominate their leaders. At the Narumoro Township Primary School, another problem.
Majina haijaandikwa kwa ballot paper ya councillors, haijaandikwa. Hiyo imeandikwa kwa blackboard na mtu anajishagulia mwenyewe, unaandika yule mtu anataka.
In other parts of Nyeri County, voters turned up in large numbers for the nomination exercise despite delay in the start of the exercise and errors on the ballot papers. Now, reports just reaching us from Othaya indicate that some voters there are refusing to leave the polling centers even after the closure of the polls. Some claim that they have been denied a chance to nominate their leaders. We are told there is some demonstrations in a few polling centers and the police have been called to the area to try and quell the situation. We'll, of course, keep you updated on that story as we get more details. But away from the nominations, and Nyeri, which is home to Kenya's 3rd president, has over the years helped shape politics in the larger central Kenya region.
Well, despite the high political profile, this is a town that has been lagging behind in terms of development. So why is this sleepy town dragging behind its sisters, that is Nanyuki and Karatina towns? Nyeri County may be among the richest, but it has serious social concerns to grapple with. While many expected Nyeri to improve after President Kibaki, who comes from the county, came to power, growth has been rather slow. For example, for the past year, no new building has come up within Nyeri Town Central Business District. And while a 24-hour economy has been hailed as one that will hasten growth, urban centers within the county, including Nyeri Town, go to sleep just after fall of darkness.
A PC was brought to Nyeri and declared that Nyeri is for God. And he even posted the 10 commandments on the main highway as you enter Nyeri, and declared that there was no nightlife in Nyeri. In short, he said there's not going to be drinking. That's simply mazuring the entertainment sector, mazuring and kind of finishing what you can call the domestic tourism sector.
Generally, the county is well covered with vegetation. Land ownership is largely smallholder, but the relatively dry parts of the county are dotted by large-scale ranches and irrigation schemes.
The Kikuyu attachment to land, there is a very serious value for land, such that somebody just wanted to see his land there. And even if it is producing or not producing, one doesn't care.
Going by the poverty index countrywide, Nyeri can be said to be on the right path. However, this success is overshadowed by insecurity and proliferation of illicit brews. Real estate is also yet to gain momentum, and getting office space or rental houses in most of the urban centers in the county is a problem.
It may be maybe it has had a closed environment opening up, because other towns, people have opened, receiving people from various communities and giving that free atmosphere for investment. So maybe because of that closed environment, it calls for those who are within to be able to invest.
The sleepy town of Nyeri is hoping to be revived once the new leaders take their new positions, with many expecting a full transformation from a ghost town to a bustling city enriched with resources. Well, just to better understand the political scenario of this region, on set right now, I've invited Homa Bay, who is an advocate in Nyeri Town, just to explain to us how this political or the high-profile politics has affected this region. As you saw in that story, this region has not grown for a long time. What are some of the problems that people here are facing, and how are they going to counter them?
One, the politics of this region, our leaders have refused to speak in one voice in the past. Instead of coming together and putting their mind together so that they can contribute to the development of this town, they have been trying to pull down each other. Remember in the 80s, we used to have issues even of political tourism. People trying even to bring down the then vice president, who is now the current president of this republic. Two, Nyeri town has remained largely a village town. Unlike a town like Nanyuki, which is cosmopolitan, where you find all tribes of this country living in Nanyuki, Nyeri, you find mostly is composed of the locals. Until very recently, when we had a few Somalis who came up and put businesses in Nyeri town, and we have now started having that aspect of the town becoming cosmopolitan. And we believe now it's going to pick up and be on the right track.
All right, Mr. Gikonyo, if you can only face me a little bit, and then we can continue this. What many people are asking, this region has enjoyed the presidency for over 2 terms now. Are they ready to let it go? And if they are, what will happen if this political scenario changes all over again in this region?
I don't think they are going to let it go. And what we are going to have is that, one, we have started witnessing positive development in the town. The town is experiencing tremendous growth. We have Dedan Kimathi University. We have Karatina University. And since the putting up of those institutions, especially in Nyeri town, we have various buildings coming up. We have many farms which are also coming in town. We have very many colleges also coming in town, and the population has increased tremendously. Our leaders also have now started realizing the need of coming up together, speaking in one voice, and turning around the economy of this town. We have also seen some few industrialists bringing industries in Nyeri town and its environs. And we hope that way the economy will pick up. And
away from the economy,
yes,
and now to the thing or the matter that is happening right now,
yes,
the voting pattern in this region.
Yes.
Has it changed? Because you're seeing some of the parties taking the big word at the end of the day. Has the voting pattern changed, or what is the voting trend in this region?
I would say this. Largely, the prayers are the same, and the game has largely also remained the same. And unfortunately, it would appear to have put institutions ahead of those to utilize them. By saying this, I mean we have raised institutions, but we have not been able to raise the civic duty of the prayers. Mm-hmm. In the sense that you find, one, the old tactics that used to be practiced in those old days in the 80s are still being applied today. We have a good constitution. We have good electoral laws that have been were praised there in 2011. Unfortunately, most of the electoral laws that were put there, that is the Political Parties Act and the Elections Act, were mutilated by Parliament. And that's why we are having this confusion that is there currently in the nominations.
I hate to stop you right now, but we have to now end it there. Thank you very much for that short information that you've given us here. That is Homa Bay, an advocate in Nyeri, and he's given us details on what is happening here. And Rita Tinina, this is a county that many people, apart from the chilly weather, many people are expecting so much in the outcome. Yeah, so for now, we'll just wait and see. Like we updated you there in Othaya constituency, some of the polling stations have been closed, and we have some of the voters dismayed by that. And we are told that they're chanting all over that place. They're angered by that. So we'll give you an update as soon as we get it from this region.
Of course, we'll be monitoring the situation for you in Othaya, but for tonight, we will leave it at that. Thanks for watching, and do have a good night. I'm Rita Tinina.
And I'm Eric Njoka. Good night.
Eric Njoka, live from Nyeri. Many thanks for the wonderful work you guys have been doing. Now, if you have been watching the bottom end of your screen, KTN has the breaking news. A few minutes ago, we spoke to Franklin Bett, who is the chairman of the Elections Board, ODM and CORD, and Franklin Bett has suspended Oburu Odinga's nomination that is in Siaya. He says he has not been furnished with evidence of that win, and he notes that there is uncertainty really on who exactly has taken that seat. And of course, he says that they will probe this, and he will let Kenyans know just the way forward. Right now, let's take you to Silver Springs, the nerve center of TNA, where Sam Ogina is standing by. Of course, the results are trickling in as the minutes go by on just who will carry what seat come March 4th, 2013. Of course, those results will be announced by TNA right now in just a few minutes. Sam Ogina has been keeping tabs on that. Sam.
Well, thank you, Linda. In studio, we are here at the Silver Springs Hotel, where the National Alliance Party, TNA, is having its tallying center, relaying results from across the 47 counties as they come. Well, probably just to rush you through some of the results that we have been able to receive from here is that we have results from Kajiado County and also Embu and Tharaka Nithi County. Probably let me just give you figures of those that will be TNA flag bearer in these respective counties. Starting from Kajiado Central constituency in Kajiado County, we'll be having Kabashi Stephanie for the Kajiado Central TNA parliamentary ticket, garnering 7,492 votes against Patrick Konenyi, who actually managed to clinch 6,118 votes. In Kajiado East, it is Paris Tobiko who managed 5,328 votes against Julius Lenin, who managed 2,464 votes. Now this means that Paris Tobiko becomes a Kajiado East parliamentary aspirant for the TNA party. Elsewhere in Kajiado North, it is Joseph Manje who managed a slim win against Francis Gitau with a gap of only 66 votes. Manje got 1,691 votes against Francis Gitau, who managed 1,625 votes. Elsewhere in Embu County, for the gubernatorial seat, it was Martin Nyaga. An interesting look into this is that we have Professor Kithure Kindiki. Remember, Professor Kithure Kindiki is the lawyer for Eldoret North MP William Ruto. Now, Professor Kithure Kindiki will be the Tharaka Nithi aspirant, TNA aspirant for that senatorial seat. Now, joining me just to crunch the numbers is Steve Mainda, that is the chairman of TNA National Elections Board. Maybe just to give us an outlook, given that you postponed this exercise yesterday to today, the results that are being trickled into this tallying center, do you believe they are foolproof?
Thank you, Sam. It's a pleasure. The election board of TNA did not postpone. What we did, after due consideration and consultation in depth, we came to a unanimous decision that to make this exercise truthful, to have the credibility, it ought to be extended to today. And we are pleased to say that was a very wise decision that the election board of TNA took, and the results and the kind of conduct that we have seen, we have witnessed across the entire country has been exemplary. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all the members of TNA who stood for a long time on the queues to cast their votes. And we are very pleased that it has been done extremely well, and we are thankful to IEBC for having seriously considered this request from Kenyans, and they accorded that request the weight it deserved. Thank you so much.
Well, so any instances of voter fraud, given that this is an aspect that has cut across the political spectrum in terms of this nomination exercise that has been happening in the 2 days that the exercise has gone on?
Thank you. Sam, to the best of our knowledge, and there is reports, we incessantly continue to receive from the grassroots, from the tallying centers. This exercise has gone extremely well, and so far, up till now, not a single case has been brought to the attention of the election board of TNA. To date, we don't know about tomorrow, but to date, I can tell you without any shadow of doubt that it has gone very smoothly, and we would like to express the same gratitude from the board to all the returning officers in the entire country, plus the citizens who took time on those queues.
Well, the question I've asked is because during my rounds across the Nairobi constituency, that is, I came across one instance in Langata, to be precise, Othaya West Primary School, where voters were being bribed to vote for a particular candidate.
So far, that no case has been reported from. Maybe when we receive it, we shall give it its due consideration and take a decisive action if such a case was had. The independent board of election of TNA will take action when those matters are brought to the fore. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve Mainda there, the chairman of National Elections Board for the TNA party. Well, remember the results that we are receiving at this tallying center. Most of them are from the counties that voted yesterday. In total, those are 10 counties that voted yesterday. And also to remember, the exercise was extended, as the chairman has said, today, where the gates closed at 6 and the voting exercise ended at around 9 o'clock. So tallying is still continuing in various polling stations, and results are trickling in this tallying center as they are announced. Remember, these are provisional results, but the actual results will be relayed tomorrow by the chairman of the TNA National Elections Board. I'm Sam Ogina from Silver Springs, where the TNA party is carrying on its tallying. The TNA party is relaying results from across the 47 counties. Back to you, Linda, in studio.
Samogina, live from Silver Springs, the tallying center of TNA. Many thanks for that update. Of course, we'll keep a lookout for those results as they come in from that particular tallying center. You're watching Choice 2013. Remember, KTN is live from 6 locations. So far, we've done Nyeri, we've done Kisumu, and of course, stay with us because we have lots of reports from different areas in the country. Now, let's bring in a different aspect to these whole primaries and the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Today, for the first time, came out to absolve itself from any blame in the messy party primaries. KTN's Betty Kialo is up next with what IEBC Chairman Isaac Hassan had to say regarding the primaries. Take a look.
Now, the IEBC has distanced itself from the political party nominations that have now turned chaotic. IEBC Chairman Isaac Hassan says that at no point was IEBC consulted by the parties on how to handle the logistical and technical issues that have now become supreme.
Every party has set up its own election board. They have got their own election preparations. They didn't ask us to help them with the training. They didn't ask us to help them with the materials. We gave, of course, the voter education materials to all the parties, which we are required to do by law. Other than that, I think the Commission has no other role.
This after the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights today blamed IEBC for not giving guidelines on just how the nominations would have been conducted to avoid any chaos and confusion that were indeed witnessed in the primaries.
Kenya National Commission believes that the inadequacies in the nomination process would have been cured if IEBC participated in the process from the beginning and provided guidance to all parties.
The Elections Observers Group has expressed concern over the chaos that have rocked the primaries.
There was lack of clear guidelines on the identification documents to be presented for purposes of voting. In some centers, potential voters were turned away for lack of party membership cards.
Isaac Hassan told KTN that the electoral body, which has been observing the nominations, understands the challenges that the parties experienced at the onset, especially in transporting voting materials that include ballot boxes and papers to different parts of the country.
We can appreciate and understand that this is the first time we're doing this kind of nationwide primary elections, and I think I will say they have tried their best.
Thursday night, there were reports that IEBC had extended the nomination period to Monday. However, Hassan refuted these claims, saying that the 3 extra days that were given to parties were for dispute resolution and not nominations, as had been indicated in different sections of the media.
We have not extended nomination. Nomination ends today by law. What we have extended are just administrative requirements of giving us the list.
However, with the 3-day period that the parties now have until presenting of papers on the 21st to IEBC, it is feared that the disgruntled party members may continue with the trading of certificates, which IEBC was trying to avoid in the first place. Hassan spoke to KTN after holding discussions with election observers from the panel of the WISE of the African Union on election preparedness. For KTN, I'm Betty Kialo.
That confusion that IEBC absolved itself from reigned in Kamukunji constituency on the second day of party primaries as voters endured long delays in order to cast their votes. While polling materials arrived early, several challenges would ensure that by evening, even as results started streaming in from various parts of the country, hundreds of voters were yet to cast their vote.
On the second day of party primaries conducted in areas that did not receive polling materials on Thursday, supporters of the National Alliance trooped to polling centres bright and early. In Kamukunji, polling clerks would arrive on time with polling materials in order to prepare for the exercise. But hours later, across the constituency, long queues would tell of the long delays borne by voters.
Mimi niliingia hapa saa moja ya usubuhi. Paka saa hii haiendi, huko ndani iko wanaitana na simu wakiingia na kupangiwa. Na sisi wengine hatuna kazi, tunangoja kupiga kura na kwenda. Kwa nini wasifungue kilasi ingine na ingine tatu? Na hawa ni TNA.
At Our Lady of Mercy School in Shauri Moyo, polling materials arrived early, but several difficulties would ensure that the exercise kicked off hours later than expected.
Muhuri tunaambiwa bado, tukarudi tukaambiwa makaratasi zenyewe majina ziko zineshikana, hazikupangwa MBC. Sasa ndio tunekaa hapa.
Throughout the day, the queue would wind towards the classroom where the nomination exercise continued. This a stark difference from the situation at the new Isili Primary School, one of 6 TNA polling centres in Kamukunji. Eager voters had arrived early and spent the better part of the morning waiting to cast their votes. By lunchtime, many sought seats as they waited, providing a ready market for food vendors. By early evening, however, restless murmurs would fill the air.
The way they are going to the work is very slow. As we Muslims, even now we went for prayers, we come back, even some of them, they don't go today for prayers because of the voting, and nothing is going on.
As early as 6 we were here, up to now no activities continuing. I'm sorry to say the polling clerks, everything is in disarray. These are ploy to disintegrate this party the way I see it. I'm sorry to say we are denied the right to vote for the right leaders we want to choose.
It is now well after the noon deadline given by TNA for the end of the party primaries, and yet hundreds still remain on the queue, hoping to vote before the end of this day. And yet, as the shadows grow longer, their hopes of voting today grow dimmer. While voters had arrived early, hundreds had hoped to vote at this station, presenting a logistical challenge, as there were only 4 polling clerks conducting the exercise in a single classroom.
We have realized that we need to add the number of clerks, we need to add the number of rooms where the votes are being cast, and that is why I am actually here. That is what I am dealing with.
Isili is considered to be the support base for Kamukunji parliamentary aspirant and immediate former Member of Parliament Yusuf Hassan, who hopes to secure the TNA ticket, as does Simon Bugwa, also a former Member of Parliament, whose brief appearance at a polling centre in Shauri Moyo led to chaos, forcing him to leave without voting. In the wake of the confusion that characterized the first day of the primaries, the National Alliance extended the exercise by a day. Now, even as sections of the country received nomination results, voters in areas that suffered long delays on the second day seeking yet another extension. Wilkinson Nyabwa, KTN Prime.
Elsewhere, supporters of the National Alliance Party in Dagoretti turned out to vote for leaders whom they wanted to represent them on the TNA party ticket in the upcoming poll slated for March. Peace prevailed in Dagoretti during the entire exercise of casting and counting votes, despite some allegations of voter bribery and fears of voter imputation by some aspirants. Patrick Amimo was in Dagoretti for the second day running to cover the party primaries and filed this report.
TNA was forced to postpone its party primaries to today after it faced challenges in the delivery of ballot papers yesterday. Though the polling stations were supposed to open at 6 a.m., the exercise did not kick off until 8 a.m. TNA supporters in Dagoretti converged at the polling centers to elect those they wanted to represent the party in the first general elections after the adoption of a new constitution in 2010. This time round, voters will be required to elect 6 leaders, a departure from the past where only 3 positions were contested. And it would appear Thursday's logistical problems in delivery of ballot papers, which forced the party to postpone the primaries to Friday, never dampened their spirits.
Nasema hamtaki wasee, yani nyinyi ni vijana. Tulianza kuchaguana hata Kenyatta wakati alikuwa amefunguliwa. Mkutano ya Kirigiti ya kwanza.
I was motivated to come and vote because I love my party and to bring change in the constituency, I have to vote.
Some voters checked in the polling stations as early as 6 in the morning. Others attempted to jump the queue, but they met strong opposition, which curtailed their mission.
Watu wanatoka huko nyuma wanaruka laini na tuliingia hapa saa 12:30 tulikuwa hapa kwa laini. Na sijasonga, nimesimama pale karibu masaa mawili.
TNA Elections Board had directed that polling stations should close by 3 p.m. However, many voters still trooped into some polling centers to vote after 5 p.m. This raised suspicions that some aspirants were bribing and ferrying voters to come and vote in their favor. Indeed, Kilelesho Primary School was famished of voters by 3 o'clock. The KTN crew found agents for different aspirants divided on whether the station should be closed to allow vote counting or not, before the presiding officer Stephen Gashiri issued a final word.
Ni ati watu walivote jana, bado wanakuja kuvote leo. Wanakuja wanamwagwa pale nje, wanakuja bado wanavote.
It must go on with your kadi ya TNA. Hakuna kitu kaa.
I have been instructed by my returning officer to close the polling center now.
Vote counting started immediately after the polling station was closed. 150 voters in Kilelesho polling center chose Jim Nambaru to be their governor against 87 who voted for Ferdinand Waititu. Former Nairobi town clerk John Gakuo garnered 38 votes. If this could be the trend in Nairobi County, then we should expect a closely contested nomination for TNS Nairobi gubernatorial polls between businessman Jim Nambaru and outgoing Embakasi lawmaker Ferdinand Waititu.
Whatever the results, I will remain in TNA and I will support the party. And if I win, let my opponent come and support me.
The IEBC expects to receive party lists for the party primaries by midnight Monday 21st next week. Patrick Amimo, KTN.
You're watching Choice 2013, KTN's continued coverage of the party primaries. Of course, we have had reports from different areas of the country. Let's now find out if things were any different in Nakuru with KTN's Zipporah Karani. Zipporah.
We are currently at the TNA Party polling center at the County Council of Nakuru. And if you look behind me, this is the main point where voters do manage to come and cast their vote in nominating the person whom they want to be the one who is going to vie for any political position. But at the end of the day, if you can even look behind me, there's a long queue of voters that are currently really complaining over the state, over the way they have been waiting for a long time. Just follow me and just look at the long queue of line of voters still waiting to vote. And they're really agitated over the situation at the moment. All they just want is for them to be shown why they're really still on the queue from... Some of them say they came here at around 8 p.m. And if you can just look, it's a really long queue of line that they're trying to wonder when will they ever finish when will they manage to vote. So some of them are really feel like it's some time. Let me just speak to one of the ladies who may tell me about her situation at the moment. Mami, habari yako?
Nzuri sana.
Hebu just niambie umekaa hapa kwa muda gani?
Nimekaa hapa tangu saa 6 mpaka saa hii. Na sijaona laini ikisonga, sasa nashindwa ni nini na nataka kuvote.
Kwa hivyo mmejaribu kuambia mbona laini haiendi haraka?
Tumejaribu, sasa tunashindwa nini naendelea huko mbele. Sisi tumekaa tu mpaka saa hizi.
That's just one of the voters here she's really complaining about the situation so far. And I think at the end of the day, a majority of these voters just need to know what will happen. Will the queue end, or will it just continue to be this long? You know, it's something that has really agitated. Let me just talk to this young boy and ask him maybe, hebu niambie, kufikia sasa unasikiaje kuhusu hii line ambao uko hadi sasa na hadi hujapiga kura?
Hii line haisongi.
Kuanzia saa ngapi ndio ulifika hapa na mbona haijasonga?
Kwa saa 9. Wasijua na wako polepole huko ama nini. Wanafaa ongeze watu hapo.
so far, that's the situation currently here at the county council offices in Nakuru, where the nomination process is still going on. And in the worst case scenario is that this is where all votes, after being tallied in various polling centers across Nakuru County, they will be brought back, and this is where they will actually be, where the winner or who may have captured maybe the governorship, the senator position, women representative will be known. So at the end of the day, we don't know at what time the TNA party nominations voting exercise will be completed. We'll continue bringing you more reports about what might end up at the end of the day, if this nomination exercise is completed or not. And even if we can just, if my colleague, our cameraman for KTN, Peter Kimani, can just turn the camera towards the gate, outside the main gate, there are already voters who are lining up and still complaining over the state of affairs at the moment. And it seems that there's some bit of confusion because certain voters are really complaining over why they are still on the line, and we anticipate that maybe things might change at the end of the day, or if they're not going to change, we hope the voters will really relax, because I think it's really getting tense over here at the county council offices in Nakuru town.
Currently, they're reporting from Nakuru with exhausted voters. Clearly, it's going to be a very long night for some of those voters who are determined to decide just who they want to nominate for every seat, for particular seats, of course, on different party tickets. That is what happened in Nakuru. Let's now bring in Mercy Kandie, who is in Eldoret, and see if things were any different from Nakuru. Mercy.
We are currently at the municipal hall here in Eldoret town for the tallying station of Soy constituency. This is just one of the 6 constituencies, one of the 6 tallying stations here in Uasin Gishu County. And as we speak, results are being announced for 10 stations here in Soy constituency. But they're expecting for more than 60 stations to still arrive. So as you can see, the results will still be announced later on in the night, because they're still counting the votes for county representative, women representative, senator and governor. So during the day, there was a lot of drama, especially in the morning, where the TNA and URP aspirants could not be able to decide if they were to have a joint nomination or not. So, but after much negotiations and talks from both parties, they finally agreed to do the joint nomination. So here's some of the drama that happened, including the arrest of 5 people who were believed to be passing around propaganda and paying people 100 shillings each for taking pieces of paper with the required candidates that you needed to fill in for the seats. So here's just some of the highlights of what happened here in Uasin Gishu County.
To leave the hall. We as agents for TNA for Wangoi. So we be told to go out. Yes. We've been chased out of the hall.
No elections. No TNA. No elections. We do not have representatives in all these polling stations. We have been ruled out. At this is a URP on the area. Hakuna kabila zingine. What do you mean by that? We want to be Democrats. Wacha tuchindwe tukiwa haki ya Mungu, tumepiga kura kwa haki na ukweli. What are you saying? Tupige kura tuchindwe na tuwe represented. Tunalazimishwa viongozi kwa nini? Na how long will this be done in this area? Mimi nataka today I be finished today, but I know lile and lile, for heaven's sake and God's sake. Hey guy, ati mnakuja hapa kupiga kura, pios cracks wote ni wa chama moja. Why? Agents, mnafukuza hata agents wangu. Tuwekewe pios wetu na tuwekewe kraksi wetu wa TNA na agency wetu, tuendelee na uchaguzi kama Kenyans.
No, when you win, let me clear this. If a TNA candidate win, he will get a TNA ticket, but we call it a joint nomination. Yeah. But when a URP candidate win, it is a URP ticket.
So we'll continue to keep you updated on the happenings here in Uasin Gishu County and its environs, especially the North Rift region, as the ballot boxes from various stations continue to arrive. So from here, the announcements that will be made that are major from here are the announcements for county representatives. But for the rest, women representative, Senate and governor will be announced at the URP main offices in Pioneer, that's still in Uasin Gishu County. So keep it KTN. From Eldoret Town, I'm Masi Kandie. Back to you in studio.
Masikandie, many thanks. You're watching Choice 2013. Let's now bring you some breaking news that we are getting from Othaya, and that is the polling stations there have been closed, and the voters who are lining up, who had been lining up for hours to cast their votes, are quite an agitated lot, and they're now causing chaos, saying it is their right, their democratic right to cast their vote. Pictures there on your screen, the latest pictures that we're getting right now from Othaya of voters who have refused to go home. They say it's their democratic right to cast their votes. They will stay there until they're allowed to cast their votes. I'm hoping we can listen in and just get a feel of what's going on the ground. All right, there isn't really much that you can hear on the ground, but what we can tell you right now is pictures on your screen are coming to us live from Othaya. And as we speak to you right now, that particular polling station has been closed. I'm yet to get the exact name of that polling station, but we understand that voters have refused to go home. They say it is the democratic right to cast their vote, and they will stay there. Even if it means staying there until tomorrow, they will stay there because they want to cast their votes. This brings in a very critical point, because the parties were very categorical that the nominations end today. IEBC also maintained that the nominations end today. These are people who have said they're not going home. If my clock is correct, they basically have about an hour and a half to cast their votes. And putting in mind that the polling stations have been closed, it's very unlikely, really, that they will be able to cast their votes. I'm hoping you can see those pictures again live from Othaya. Just give us a few minutes. We're trying to get those pictures for you live on the screen of voters in Othaya who are quite an agitated lot because they're being told to go home. They're being told they will not be able to cast their votes to decide on who they want to nominate. They're very adamant, saying they will stay there even if it means staying there till tomorrow. And they're bringing a new twist because all parties actually, and the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission says the nomination must end today. Let's listen in.
Kitu iliyoko mnikubalie nione officials so that nijue and then niwajibu, lakini tukae kwa amani tafadhali. Nikijua nitawaeleza, alafu tutafuata hiyo, alafu tulie. Sawa, please wacha nijue, wacha nijue. Thank you.
Scenes that have become synonymous kind of with the primaries that we have witnessed in the last 2 days. Of course, voters agitated, saying they have to cast their votes. Those pictures are coming to you live from Othaya. What's going on is that particular polling station, we're yet to get the exact name, but that particular polling station has been closed. The voters have refused to go home. They say it is their democratic right to cast their votes, and they will stay there. A security officer, has actually talked to the residents, saying he is going in to talk to the officials and see see if they can let them vote. But they have about an hour and a half to cast their vote, so let's see how that goes. That is a story we are keeping an eye on for you, even as we go on with Choice 2030. Now, let's bring in some of the results that we have seen so far. Of course, 2 days of party primaries. And what you need to know, even as we take you through the results, is that the results that were earlier on announced for Siaya have been cancelled. Franklin Beth, the chairman of Elections Board of both ODM and CORD, has suspended the nomination of Oburu Odinga, says results are being probed. Of course, that breaking news has been scrolling at the bottom end of your screen for a better part of this bulletin. You're watching Choice 2013. Here now are the results as we have received them. You're watching Choice 2013. Two things stand out today. The nomination of Oburu Odinga has been suspended. That was done by Franklin Bett, who is the chairman of Elections Board. And news just in is that voters in Othaya are still camping at a polling station, saying they're going nowhere. They will stay there until they're allowed to exercise their democratic right. So a lot has happened in these 2 days of party primaries. Let's now sum it all up in a unique way. Take a look.
Have representatives in all these polling stations. Tunalazimishwa viongozi kwa nini?
That is the childish play. Childish play.
It's through.
Mnasema hamtaki wazee, yani nyinyi ni vijana.
We want to be democrat. We've been chased out of the hall.
Unibebe. Za Nairobi wagoje, mimi bado watanichagua.
Mimi nina degree za kutosha.
Vizuri sana.
Propaganda politics, I know it well.
Tulianza kuchaguana hata Kenyatta wakati alikuwa amefunguliwa.
We will repeat our elections in those three counties.
Na kwingineko.
Wacha tuchindwe tukiwa haki ya Mungu tumepiga kura.
Through.
Konza Techno City, the first smart city in Kenya, will be launched to the public